Hi everyone, today we will see how we can set up CrossLog Intelligent Log Analyzer, which is an intrusion detection system powered by machine learning classifiers on our web server. For the sake of simplicity, we set up our web server on our VirtualBox machine which runs Kali Linux operating system, and we'll set up the Apache web server and we will run the damn vulnerable web application, which is the name of a web application, and also we'll set up our intrusion detection system on our Kali Linux machine. And after that, we will use our Windows 10 host machines Google Chrome browser to access that web application and attack it using our host machine. And we'll see how it triggers the attacks or the intrusion detection system, how it detects these particular attacks carried out. So what we have to do now is we have to install our intrusion detection system, right? For that, we have to go to the GitHub repository where we have detailed and documented the steps you have to carry out in order to install the intelligent log analyzer. So first of all, what you have to do is we have to copy this particular command. This particular command is required. What it does is that it will download this CrossLog directory which contains the application requirements in order to run the intrusion detection system. A research file contains the Jupyter notebooks that we have used in order to carry out all these particular procedures in order to arrive at the machine learning classifiers. So we'll go back, we copied over this command, and we are planning to install our particular intrusion detection system on the desktop itself. So we will open up the terminal here. I'll zoom this one in, and we have to paste this command. And after pasting the command, what it will do, this command pulls the CrossLog directory present in this particular repository and it will download it in our desktop directory. So let's wait till this one completes. It can take a while. Meanwhile, let's check what the next procedure is. We have to extract the requirement.route file present in the CrossLog directory. Has it completed? Yes. The downloading has been completed. So let's switch over to our desktop. Here we have our directory where the application resides, and we have to open this one. And what we have to do, we have to extract the requirement.route file here. We'll extract it here. And meanwhile, let me tell you another thing. For running this particular intrusion detection system, you have to install Python 3. Okay, Python version 3 interpreter is required to be running on your system. In case you don't have that one, you have to install this, and you also need to have the pip version for Python 3. Pip is used to install packages for your interpreter. I already have that, so I'm not again running this command. And also these are the necessary libraries. Since our intrusion detection system runs using Flask micro framework, we have to install some necessary dependencies in order to successfully execute our intrusion detection system. So what you have to do is you have to copy this one, and the particular installation has been completed. We have to open up the terminal, and the commands that we copied, we have to just paste it here. I already have installed all those necessary libraries that is required. So we'll just wait for this one to say that the requirements have already been satisfied. In case some other dependencies error occurs while you try to run, we have to run the application. I will show you the contents of this directory. This contains the app.py file. This is the heart of our intrusion detection system, and we have to run this using Python 3. In case you don't have Python 3 or you have multiple versions of Python installed, instead of typing Python and app.py, you have to type Python 3 app.py. In case where your default interpreter may be a different version of Python other than Python 3. So we'll just quickly run this. What this one actually does is that it creates an instance of Flask and opens up the port 5000, which is the default for the Flask, and that's where our intrusion detection system runs. Okay, it is depicted here. So what you have to do, we have to go to our browser here. Just in order to see our intrusion detection system, we'll open up a new tab. Okay, so there's a bit hang in my computer. Okay, it has opened up. What do you have to do? We have to go over to 127.0.0.1. On which port has our intrusion system been running? It's running on port 5000. Okay, I'll click enter, and it will open up our intrusion detection system. The name of the intrusion detection system is CrossLog Intelligent Log Analyzer. That's all, and has 4 particular features. The first one is scanning log files. In scenarios where you get a log file where a company in which a breach or a cyber attack has already occurred, you can get the web server log file from that particular company, and what you have to do, you have to just go to browser and select that particular file that you downloaded. Okay, that's why you term it as the static scanning technique. On the desktop itself, where our CrossLog directory is kept here, we have created a file access.log. This is a sample Apache log file, which I will show you on how the testing works. So once we click submit, the intrusion detection system runs through all the contents present in that particular log file, which is Apache log entries, and it will categorize each of that particular path and query parameters in that particular log file into different kinds of attacks that have taken place, or also into normal category of attack. Okay, so here we can see that there's some kind of normal, and this one slash, the symbol slash one is presented as anomaly, and in case there are some different ones, yes, this one is a cross-site scripting attack that has taken place, and all those things is labeled here. Okay, this is a static scanning, that is, this is not done in real time. So you just have to download a log file where an attack has taken place, and you just have to run over this particular system. So this is the first feature. The second feature is real-time ideas. This I will show you at the end. This one is a web application security scanner. So what you have to do is you have to just enter the web application URL, say www. No, I won't show you that because you cannot just grasp any site and scan them without the permission. So what we can do is we can scan our application itself. So we will see it on the later on session itself. And this one is test query. You know what test query does? Test query does is that you can input the commands. I mean, the script alert one is a cross-site scripting attack, and once you submit it, this particular system will categorize that one. Yes, this particular one is a cross-site scripting attack. That's not just the end of the scenario. We can use a different test query. Let's say we will use path traversal attack. So you know that what path traversal attack is, right? It will switch over to the previous directories in this web application to reach the root directory. We will see what is in this particular directory. See what we are trying to do. We are trying to switch over to etc/password. This particular thing is located in the prior. This is not a part of web application. This is part of the Linux host machine or the Kali Linux machine itself. So it categorizes it as a path traversal attack. Now there are different categories of attack, and for the time being I will show you another one also. Let's quickly see the SQL injection attack. Union, what we can do, we can select 1 2 3 4. This would be probably the column numbers, and this one to comment out the rest of the part. This is an SQL injection attack, but this one is categorized as normal. Now see, there is a small issue here. Why? In order to successfully detect a particular attack, what we need is the path part and the query part. The path part is where the particular file in which the injection or the parameters are inputted. I will show over this one. Why this detected as normal was that there is no query part. What we are doing, sorry, there is no path part. All we are doing is we are submitting the query part. So for this particular application to function successfully, what we need is two things. That is the path part and the query part. I will show you an example. So in order for testing, the path part is the particular file. Say login.php is a particular file. This is a path. And we also need the query part. In login.php, what will most probably use, there will be a name part and a password part, right? And for the name, what we can type, we can type this kind of SQL injection in order to or 1 equal to 1, which is an always true condition. And we'll just again close that particular checking part, and we'll comment out the rest of the part so that the password checking phase is not carried out. This particular thing contains a path and the query concern. So believe that this one will most probably be classified as an SQL injection attack. You get the idea, because this one is fine-tuned to work very well when you give in the path part and the query part. So when you give both of these particular things, this will categorize them and give you using different machine learning classifier. So that's how this one functions. And for the remaining two, what we can do is I will show you how we can set up an Apache web server on this particular machine. Once we set up our Apache web server on this particular machine, what we can do is we can run our damn vulnerable web application. I'll show you how we can run that. For that, we need to set up our web server using, I'm using SAMP here. So where is the application for running SAMP? I will execute this one. Okay, it started. And on manage server, I will start our Apache web server. You need a database and a web server in order to run an application in case it is using a backend as MySQL database. So for the time being, I will use the MySQL present in my Kali Linux machine itself. I'm not depending on the SAM one because the Damper web application is presently linked to the MySQL version in my Kali Linux machine itself. For starting MySQL server service MySQL start, this will run that particular thing and we'll start the MySQL database. And once both of this are started, we'll quickly go to SAM, and htdocs is the location or the folder in which what we have the web application that is installed, and this is the dvwa web application, and this particular application we will run using our Mozilla Firefox. For the time being, I'm just displaying this particular application on our Kali Linux machine. It is actually accessed using our host Windows machine, okay, and the attack is carried out on from our host Windows browser, that is the Google Chrome browser present in our Windows machine, and we'll try to attack our DVWA. And what we want to see is we want to see our CrossLog intelligent log analyzer detecting that particular attacks in our real-time intrusion detection system. And let's see, yes, the Apache web server is running. Let's minimize this one, and the part for this is also over, so we can close this one. And now what we do, we just quickly switch over to see how our web application is. So when you run SAMP, by default it will open up in port 80, so we don't have to explicitly type port 80 because a browser directly means or defaults to that particular port. That is what I meant is that this one is same as this one itself. Okay, inside that we have the DVWA web application. Okay, so this is our web application that we are trying to attack using our Google Chrome in our host machine. So this one by default I have this username is admin and the password is password, and I log into this. This is the particular application. So let's see the web application security scanner also. So this one is the link, right? This one is the link for our web application. I will just copy this one. I'll just paste it. No, the copy has not taken place. I'm sorry. Okay, I will select this one. I'll copy this. This is the URL for our web application. Okay, I'll submit it. What it does is that it will go to this particular web application and it will scan this one completely. It will scan this one completely in the sense that it will find out or fingerprint this particular web application in order to find which web server it is running on, and it will carry out certain attacks like brute forcing attack and injection technique in order to find some kind of vulnerable files or some kind of attacks or injections like HTML injection, Sql injection or something like that possible. It detects it. The scan time depends upon the size of your web application, so you can expect that this one will be particularly large. And one thing that you have to keep in mind is that you cannot completely rely on an automated web application security scanner always, because whatever scan results that it give, you have to manually check it. Okay, for this particular DVW application, it has found out that the web server running is on Apache 2.4.46. yes, that's particularly correct, and it will go on checking for some kind of applications or some kind of files that may be vulnerable or which can leak certain informations. Yeah, we are particularly sure this robot.txt file can give us a little bit of instructions or some kind of intuition on how this web application is. And it also detected that this thing may be vulnerable for cross-site tracing vulnerability. And for the sense of seeing, again, you have to manually verify it because it's an automated tool. Now, the main part, that is the soul of our intrusion detection system, which is the real-time intrusion detection system. What you have to do is we have to direct this particular application, giving it an input on to the location where the web server stores the consumer request into a log file. Okay, every web application that runs on a web server will have its corresponding log somewhere. For Apache, the name is access.log, and for Nginx or different Microsoft IIS, something like that, the log file name varies and the location also depends on the same. So what we have to do, we have to enter the log location. Since we are using Apache web server using SAMP, what we can do, we have to open up this particular files application folder, and inside the directory called logs, our Apache stores the log information in the access_log file. Okay, so what we have to do, we have to copy this one. I'll copy this one and what we have to say to our intrusion detection system is, hey intrusion detection system, this is a particular location of your log file and you have to continuously keep on monitoring it. So what we do now is the real part. We'll close this one. Okay, we'll close this one and we will go on to our web browser. Before we move on to the web browser, what I need to let you know is that we have to find out the IP address, the public IP address. I mean, in order to find the public IP address of this particular machine, I mean in the public IP address, in the sense that since it's running on a virtual machine, it's the internal IP address that we are seeming to bother about. You can type ifconfig, it will give us the details. So what is the IP address? The internal IP address is 192.168.43.30. internal IP address in the sense is that my Windows machine and the Linux machine is using the same Wi-Fi adapter. Okay, so both of them will be assigned different IP addresses, that are the internal IP address, and using one internal IP address of that particular thing, we can use it from a different machine running on the same particular local area network in order to access that one. I will show you just what I mean. So this is the application, and what application are we trying to use? DVWA. Okay, so this web application is actually a web application running on our Linux machine that we saw before. Okay, we'll submit it and we'll tell it to monitor that particular thing continuously, that particular log file. Okay, now what we do, we can minimize our Kali Linux machine and we'll switch over to our Google Chrome machine. In Google Chrome machine, what we can see is the same web application that we saw on our Kali Linux machine. Now what you can see is, you can see this particular web application in your host Windows machine, because this is how a company's web application is. Any user can around the world can access it depending on the security policies of that particular organization. Okay, now we will log into this particular thing. Okay, I'm sure this. Let's quickly turn over to SQL injection. There may be some input field wherein we can manually do some attacks. So this one is an example of LDAP injection. Let's submit that one. Now what more can we do? We can do a path traversal attack inside HC password. Okay. Now what we can do? We can do some kind of ping with an interval of say 30 seconds. We ping google.com and we append to that a particular command like cat display the etc/shadow file. Okay, that's an example of voice command line injection. It may be detected as an anomaly also. I don't think it actually was, the syntax was actually correct. Now what we can do, next, we can do a cross-site scripting attack script. Let's say we want to alert how much. We can say we want to alert 100 slash script tag is closed. Now what will we do? We again do the submit button. Now these are some kind of attacks that actually takes place. You can also see union, some kind of select 1, 2, 3, 4 at something like db version. And what we can do, we can code this one out dot. Okay, now we'll submit this one. Now we have performed different kind of things, different kinds of attack has been performed. Now what we can do is, here is our intrusion detection system. What it has done, it has categorized all these different kinds into different kinds of attack categories. Okay, all those necessary things that we do, it is automatically scanning. The delay is because it is now performing the scans at an interval of 15 seconds. Okay, after each 15 seconds it will go to the log entry and it will find out the files. So in case you want to reduce the time interval, you can do so manually by editing the app.py. Okay, so here is how our real-time intrusion detection system also works. So all in all, we discussed different 4 features that is capable by our CrossLog intelligent log analyzer. It is an machine learning driven intrusion detection system which can scan static log files, which can serve as an web application security scanner, and you can manually test the queries that is required by you, and also it can perform as a real-time intrusion detection system. Thank you. I hope you would like our tool.